Happy Monday, everybody. If you are catching this, you are probably catching the playback. I'm trying to figure out how to share things today. I am still recovering from a cold, so please don't mind me if I start coughing. I am really not dying, I promise. And here we go. And today we're going to be going over the stars and card reading for the week ahead. And, I have to say, these next 2 weeks are going to be having some sweet energy about them at times. And I know that might sound a little trite after all that's happened in this last week. But I think the energy is really going to be able to help pull us all into a different place and pull us all in a place where we can help and we can experience the unity and the oneness we are seeking out in the world. Now, I'm not, pardon me, I'm not one to get into everything about why this might have happened or, why bad things happen in general. I'm really more of a person of, I think a lot of times we create a lot of division within ourselves by thinking we know the reason behind why things happen, whether it's things in our lives, whether it's larger scale tragedies, whether it's like something like the shootings that happened today in Texas. And I really do tend to think that we have personified God a little too much. We have really come to believe that He is very much like us and that we are very much like Him. And I know the Bible says that, we are created in God's image, but I'm not here to argue the Bible today, and I'm not here to argue whether somebody is right or wrong about why these things happened. Only that I think we are being presumptuous when we say we think we can know something like God's meaning. Hi, Kim. And I think we are presumptuous in saying we know why something happened in such a complex system. I mean, Creator, no matter how you think of this being or this intelligent force, He created all these very complex systems. And maybe He created these complex systems so He wouldn't have to micromanage every single little aspect. But then part of creating these systems, like ecology, human bodies, giving us free will, maybe in all of that, He kind of just has to let the program that He built run. So maybe there isn't any greater meaning behind why Irma hit where it hit. Maybe it's just because we have such complicated systems like our atmosphere, like our planet's ecology. These things were statistically bound to happen. And maybe there isn't any greater meaning behind it than that. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that as the week goes on. And I'm going to be talking about how to get very fiercely sensitive around a lot of these things. Because there are so many people out there saying, like, well, they were all sinners down in Florida. And I read in one light worker group that somebody thought the hurricane was happening to clear out the negative energy from that whole geographical area because of all the slave trade and the sex trade and the drugs and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, that knowing is simply ego trying to find a way to make us feel comfortable and okay with what happened. Hi, Kent. How are you? And that's not usually ever the full story. And to believe that we know that one reason is just, it's kind of crazy. And it takes us away from being able to help, of being able to open up our compassionate hearts to the people who are in suffering and struggle and pain right now and fear. And that is the point. The point of this is not to determine why it happened, It's a hurricane. We are in hurricane season. We have a very complex ecology. These things happen. It's part of living here on this earth plane. And it doesn't mean that God is taking out his personal vengeance on anyone. All right, there's my thing about that. But if you were in the path of Irma and in the path of Jose, we're doing good, Ken. I hope you guys are doing well too. But if you're in the path of the hurricanes, if you were in the earthquakes, I hope you're safe. I hope you and yours come through this. And you come through this and you're able to build something better than what you had before. Okay, so stars and card reading for today. Very good, Ken. We actually had a very beautiful weekend up here in Pennsylvania. I can't believe how much the fall energy is coming through already. And I'm like, oh, the cooler weather. Oh, I see some trees that are turning red already. So we don't have too much. Well, all right, we don't have too much big stuff going on in the stars this week or even next week. So this week, we got a little bit of everything. We got a little bit of Venus action. We got a little bit of Jupiter. Thursday might be of note because we've got some Saturn and Sagittarius action. And usually that's kind of like as water flows around a stone. It's finding the path of least resistance. But with everything that's happening and all the drama and trauma and all the energy that's going on in the collective this week, I think it might be more like a call to action. We're going to see this week how we can step forward, how we can do something about the pain we see without creating all these crazy ego things around it. And I think by Thursday, when we're looking at the Saturn and Sagittarius action, it's going to be a little bit more like, well, how can I do this more? How can I do this on a bigger scale? And how can I do it without burning myself out? Because it's always the big question. We always have to be giving from our excess and not from our core. Our only job is really to keep our core clean, to keep our core working, and to keep expanding. And the healing occurs from our excess and not from our core. So let's get that straight. We're not asking anybody to burn themselves out. We're just saying there are ways, and Spirit might be guiding you this week, to create this smarter action to help the things you see right in front of you. Because so many times I think light workers, they tend to be like, oh, I am this great healer, and I can channel all this beautiful, beautiful energy through me, and you'll feel it when I put my hands on you. And, that might be true, but it doesn't help us to figure out the practical stuff, like how to make a business plan, how to reach out to people. And this week, we are like up to our ears in opportunity for people who do need help. So how can you make that help happen based on who you are and what you do and what makes you shine? So this week we're really looking at listening from the Enchanted Map deck, and this is listening on a much deeper level. Spirit can talk, and it can seem very direct at times, but that's usually like the phrase my family uses. That is when you're getting a clue by Thor. Like clue, a god, a being is out there with a 4x4 saying, are you listening? Because usually Spirit speaks on a much more deeper, much more subtle level. And when we're clear and when we're focused, we don't need the clue by Thor. We don't need nearly as many signs or omens or big obvious things to know what the heck's going on. Yeah, practical help is always good. Any kind of help, really, at this point. I mean, there are so many people who are going to have to start over. It's a beautiful opportunity for coaches to do pro bono work or free work. It's a beautiful opportunity for light workers to really lead in to some kind of spiritual counseling. It doesn't have to just be about your sessions, your product, your blah, blah, blah. This is like this week can really open up some doors for you in that whole practical field. To say, like, all I had to do was that. And I'm working my mission. And I'm actually getting to help people. All right, that rocks. And the cards also say, and this, what deck is this? Messenger Oracle deck. Love without condition. And that's a little fairy. But yeah, love without condition. You know, the stories about why, the judgments about what did these people do to attract this, you know, these people, especially if you're in the law of attraction communities, there's a lot of people who will go to those stories because they're like, well, you know, if it happened to you, it must be because they attracted it. And it's like, I call bullshit on that. I call bullshit on it because maybe the only reason why they attracted it was because they are here on this earth plate. And this earth plate is crazy. Like they chose to live in a place like Florida. You know, hurricanes don't happen all the time there. They took their chances, and they all knew a hurricane could come. That was their choice. That was their free will. Why judge them? Why judge them? There's no sin in that. And we were talking about our great works in life. So that's the Seven of Pentacles. That's the young man beginning his apprenticeship. It's somebody beginning their great work. And we're going to be getting a lot of those themes today. My beings do not want to work with me today. I'm just going to leave them like that. And lastly, the goddess energy of the week, the feminine energy coming through this week is Coventina, purification. It's time for cleansing, detoxification of your body and mind. But also, I really think of these areas. I mean, think of all the cleanup that's going to be going on. I mean, I don't necessarily think that some of these messages are as woo-woo out there as someone like Doreen Virtue. Someone like Doreen Virtue might have put on here. The last time I did the stars and cars reading, because I was sick last week, I drew Mother Earth. Like, you know, how was I to know? And this week I'm drawing a card about cleanup. Sometimes I think it's a little bit more direct, and it's not nearly as subtle or mystical or romanticized as people want us to think it is. You have to go with your heart and what your heart is saying and what your spirit feels compelled to do. All right, so Thursday is going to be a big day with the Saturn and Sag, and it will also be the moon's closest approach to Earth this month. So we're going to get a lot of dreaming in. We do have, I think we do have some Neptune as well this week. So lots of dreaming, lots of leaning into how things could be for you and could be for the world and could be for everyone. And this week, light workers, people who are out there on the front lines of the spiritual industry, take care. There's going to be a lot of people to help. Can't burn out. So this is a week to really try and hone in on what Spirit might be saying about working smarter, not harder. Because I know we have these huge, huge hearts, and we would love to help everybody. And that sometimes that huge, huge heart and that massive amount of caring can get us into like paralysis mode because we don't know how. So start simple, start practical, and start with what is right in front of you. Don't get into paralysis mode. Don't dilly-dally. Just act this week and let things come to you as they will, because there will be more guidance about how this is actually all part of your mission. All right. I have to boogie because I have to take my daughter to an appointment. And hopefully by Wednesday when I come back on, I will actually have most of my voice left or back. Oh, pardon me. But everybody stay safe and everybody keep your hearts open because the world needs it. Have a great Monday, and I will see you on Wednesday.